Doug Graham put out a clip just recently about lead hand punching. Apparently he was saying there was a debate in some places about which side do you have forward, do you have your strong side forward, do you have your weaker side forward, and which hand do you lead with. Doug's ideas were very much the same as ours, in that in terms of a self-defence situation you don't necessarily have a choice in which side is forward, you don't necessarily have a time for the hands to come up in. If you do, of course, you go whichever is most appropriate and whatever is most comfortable for you. So Doug put some really good stuff up on his clip, but I just wanted to look at a couple of other little ideas as well that lead on from that. One is the idea, if I'm punching from the lead hand, how do I develop power in that? A lot of people, like in boxing, they'll use the lead as a jab. It's kind of to find the range or to get the distance or whatever else. So it's not necessarily a power punch. In terms of self-defence, if you're using that lead hand either preemptively or as your first defensive movement, then you've got to have some sort of power in it to affect the other person. So how do you develop that? Because obviously you can't necessarily put the whole body into it, which everyone says is the only way to put power into a punch. Well, that's debatable. So a couple of ideas. One is you use the stick, and what I'm doing is I'm just catching the stick. I'm dropping it and I catch it, I drop it and I catch it. Each time I catch it, it's a little bit difficult to see properly, but I'm tensing. The whole forearm tenses. Kind of like a pulse, tense. But the rest of the body is still staying relaxed. So I keep the stick parallel to the floor and this. And I can do it in different directions, I can do it in different positions and everything else. But the basic principle is I'm using the weight of the stick and the tension in the arm to develop some sort of feeling in the hand here. So that's one exercise. Another very good exercise is to do press-ups. Now everyone does press-ups, but the way they do them, people don't always appreciate the kind of things you can get from doing a press-up in different ways. So what we're going to do again is keep this part of the body tense, because you need to maintain the structure obviously on the floor, but the rest of the body should be relaxed, especially the shoulders. So when you do your press-up, instead of everything being locked out rigid, shoulders should kind of be relaxed all the way through. And when I push up here, I don't engage the shoulders, I just push up straight through the fist. So the shoulder stays relaxed and mobile. So that's another very good exercise for developing that kind of power. The third thing is, I know a lot of guys like to work on the bag, and you know, it's good. But if you've got another person, it's much better to work on the person. And the way you start doing it, first of all, is just by pushing. But I push from here. I'm not using the whole body. So if I get into a sort of typical martial arts kind of stance, I'm pushing like this, then I'm using the whole body to push, which is okay, but I'm not developing this power. So instead, I place the fist, and I'm just pushing from here. But what's important with this is the position of the fist, where I place it on his body, and also the angle. If I push here, I'm in the right position, but the angle is wrong, so nothing happens. I change the angle slightly with the elbow, and now it's easy. So every time you do this, your fists are learning where to hit. Once I've done a certain amount of pushing, then I'll come into striking, if the person knows how to take strikes, okay. So if I push like this, see how his body reacts. If I hit here, see how his body reacts. It's the same reaction, just a little bit more extreme. Okay. And you'll see again, I'm just hitting from here. I'm not coming back, I'm not putting in shoulder or hip and anything else, I'm just working from here. So you can see how this works in your fence position or your guard position or anything else you can hit. One of the guys here described this in a very nice way. He says it's like taking something off a shelf. Okay? I just reach. You shouldn't do this kind of thing. A lot of guys, when they get into 1 inch punch, and the more like the Chinese side of things, doing like a farging kind of thing, or it's like a snap. It's okay, But there's a couple of things. It's very Brucey. I mean Bruce Lee, not Bruce Lee. Alright, it's very Brucey. But look what happens, the hand comes back, and then I've got to come out again. When we work this, once the hand is out, it will stay there and carry on working until it needs to come back. So that's another thing. You also need to punch in such a way that I can carry on working from there as well. It's not like a big one shot and then back again, because here I've got to start all over again. Okay? So, stick drill, press ups, but the most important of all, working on a person. If you have to work on a bag, then just try the same thing. Just try here and just try pushing the bag. If you need to, adjust the position of the elbow. Of course, there's lots of other things to do. It's a whole big subject in itself, and I'm sure lots of other people have got good ideas as well. But hopefully that'll give you a few tips. So when you come back to doing your scenario work or whatever you're doing, you can work from it. And I'll just hit into the chest rather than the face. You can work in here, and you can work with your lead hand. And it becomes quite easy to get a good shot off. And the other thing is, it doesn't give the other person a lot of time. See here, if I do this, he reacts. So I just reach. The other person to train with for this kind of stuff is Valentin Talanov. He's got a real lot of expertise in this area and a lot of good exercises and drills. If you get a chance to train with him on this, then I'd say take it. But there we go, there's a few ideas.